Sara is the steering group coordinator of the Architects Climate Action Network. She's also director of Studio Search, a consultancy that advocates for systematic change around low-carbon domestic retrofit, and is co-founder of the Home Energy Action Lab, which is formed to accelerate low-carbon fabric first home retrofit in the community. She's also the co-host of Zero Ambitions podcast, so check that out. So delighted that she's taken time. Sara's based in London, so she's made a real effort to come up here today and this week. And Sara, it's over to you.
Thank you. Well, you'll be relieved to know that cuts out the first slide that I have, having been already introduced. I still have my, I haven't quite steadied from the boat all week long. We've been a little bit dizzy. It wasn't the wine. So I'm here to talk to you about the role of activism in delivering a just and a transition to net zero. You've heard who I am, so I'll skip past that. What is activism? What does that look like? I'm sure right now people get a little bit itchy and think, oh God, she's going to start lecturing us about having to glue ourselves to motorways or throwing fake blood at corrupt politicians. I mean, very welcome to do that, go ahead. But I think activism takes a lot of other forms, and there is a space in that for everybody, whatever your appetite for this might be. So how did I go from that? It's not actually me, but it's a stock image of just an exhausted architect to that. Until recently, I would have described myself as an architect running a small practice, but growing weary of trying to justify our services in like a very tightening procurement place and always trying to rethink how we can be more efficient and all the rest of it. But whilst also growing a little bit suspicious of the impact of our industry and how the status quo was sort of being pretty damaging and not spoken about at all. A general feeling of discomfort grew in me about the kind of lack of climate awareness in the industry. And I also come from an island, and I think that when you are from an island, you're always consciously aware of, the limit of habitable space, and if you're continuing to fill that with stuff, more stuff, like to what end, where is that going ultimately? And we need to sort of stop and look at what we're doing with this industry. So it's fair to say we're in a little bit of trouble. 2016 and 2020, and arguably the summer that we just experienced, were the hottest on record, a good 1.2 degrees hotter than temperatures in the 19th century. On the 22nd of August of this year, 3,358 fires were detected in the Brazilian Amazon. Mandatory reported data has revealed that there are up to 60 oil spills happening a month in the North Sea alone. 20% of total UK emissions come from just heating our homes. And extreme weather events are a common occurrence, and not just in faraway places. They're knocking on our own front door, I think we can all agree, with terrifying regularity. But I suspect I don't have to drown you in many more stats, but I do really want to share this next one. And I'm going to have to ask you to tilt your head. This slide just doesn't work the other way up in a horizontal stat, but what I'm trying to get across with this one is that in 2020, the amount of anthropogenic mass, right, that's human-made stuff, outweighs the weight of all living global biomass. And as accumulation rates increase, the amount of human-made mass, a lot through carbon-intensive processes, is set to triple by 2040. That just sort of blows my mind, like natural stuff, what we're doing. This is the sort of stuff that motivated me to start thinking about action, like, well, what can I do? And, as a sole practitioner, you kind of think, there's nothing I can do, like, it's one person. So I tried to find other people who were doing similar things, and I found myself at the launch of Architects Declare. So this was a collective declaration of climate emergency from the architecture profession. When I was at that event, I met people from ACAN, the Architects Climate Action Network, and that's now where I'm steering group coordinator of that group. And then lots of things from there started to change. So we galvanise around three main aims: decarbonise now, ecological regeneration, and cultural transformation. There's a lot of opportunity to take action, and certainly no shortage of topics that need addressing. Activism must in itself be sustainable and therefore needs to be based on shared values and organisation to build trust and prevent burnout. You need to find some area that ignites your passion and brings you joy, and for me, that's domestic retrofit, retrofitting the 28, 29 million, however you're counting them, homes in the UK. So what have we done? In the run-up to COP26, we launched a public-facing campaign called Households Declare. The ask was to draw attention to the public, to make them aware that 20% of emissions are coming from our homes. Nobody knew that. We didn't know that. Nobody's talking about that fact. So we ran this campaign and tried to collect as many signatures as possible in quite a short amount of time before COP, and submitted a letter to the then President, Alok Sharma. And this then built into a further series of campaigns. So at COP, we held a number of events, and one around replicating retrofit, which was to explore how we might replicate and roll out positive models of domestic retrofit that exist in the UK, but just that we needed to see more of those. So the idea at COP was to bring together lots of other voices and see what other people were doing and try and share that information and that knowledge. So what do we do then? Oh yes. Around the same time that we launched Households Declare, the New Economics Foundation were also launching their campaign called the Great Homes Upgrade. So recognising that we had synergies and shared values, we came together to, we enacted a parliamentary, I wouldn't call it a protest, because it's actually quite jovial. We had like music going and we had called it the Festival of Retrofit, because it's a really good news story no matter the flavour of government. The virtues and the values through bringing forward a national retrofit strategy has so many benefits. So we delivered a letter to Rishi Sunak's aide, who didn't want to be photographed, fair enough. But the whole idea was to say, look, we're here to support you as an industry. We want to help and we want to unlock all the potential within a national retrofit strategy. Just listen to us. We're still having to bang on that door quite a lot, but that's England for you. So after I joined BEST, we were in the throes, and each of these campaigns I'm showing you are connected, and each one then builds on the previous one. So following this, the people who were in the background of organising that organised this, which was Retrofit Reimagined in Birmingham. And again, it was to really explore the questions of, we know that 1.5 degrees of warming is already baked in. And if we know that, and we know that it's going to be impossible to retrofit 28 million homes, because that would mean retrofitting one every 35 seconds from now until 2050. So we know that's not going to happen looking at the technocratic simple responses that we'd have to try and roll out individually as small practices. We know that's not going to happen. So if that's not going to happen, but the problem isn't going anywhere, what are we going to do about it? So we put this festival on where we got a lot of different speakers to come, and in fact Abid from BEST came and spoke passionately about the role of exploring skills in retrofit. And this is where we held it actually. It was quite amazing. It was definitely not your kind of conference room festival of talking about insulation, but it was a really brilliant event. So the theme here, time and again, is collective organisation and collaboration, and finding where our shared values can help us build movements towards affecting change. Now, Retrofit Reimagined was part of a wider 3-week festival that was run by Civic Square in Birmingham, who work with the Donut Economics Action Lab. And that is an organisation that the economist Kate Raworth has established. Now, Kate Raworth has written a book called Donut Economics, and if you haven't read it, I would absolutely recommend doing so. Now, the principle of donut economics is that it's a new way of thinking about economics. So away from the sort of exponential growth curve that we all have seen for time and time again. You know, GDP, that's what success is. Well, we know that's not actually success. We know that's a problem. So the donut consists of 2 concentric rings. You have a social foundation to ensure that no one is left falling short on life's essentials. And you have an ecological ceiling, and to ensure that humanity does not collectively overshoot the planetary boundaries that protect Earth's life-supporting systems. And between these 2 sets of concentric rings lies a donut-shaped space, and that's both ecologically safe and socially just. And it's a space in which humanity can thrive. So that's the theory, but that's where the planet is. And actually, we've just had some ocean acidification stats come out, and that's also a great big red shoot off. This is the UK. This is Ethiopia. And this is the US. So clearly we have quite a lot of work to do. But we are here today to keep this conversation going, and we want to share knowledge, and we want to build connections to accelerate our journey to a net zero future. And upskilling is a really key part of that. Activism, to me, is about making connections and discovering the common ground that connects us. We can't expect others to do it for us, but we realise that coming together, this builds purpose, meaning, and joy. I'm really thankful to all of you for taking the time to come and listen to us, and we've certainly enjoyed hearing from you over the last few days, and we absolutely look forward to working with you together. This is, to me, kind of sums up what collective action looks like. Thanks very much.